Welcome to the Consulting Kingdom, the ultimate podcast for business consultants who are ready to master their craft and make a meaningful impact as a kingdom business. Hosted by Patrick Bell, this podcast dives into powerful strategies and actionable insights that will help you grow in your consulting expertise. Through expert interviews, the Consulting Kingdom pulls from our guests their advice and equips you with the tools and knowledge and heart direction necessary to drive extraordinary results for your clients and your business. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on social media for exclusive content and updates. Now, get ready to unlock your consulting potential with the Consulting Kingdom.
Hey everyone, it's Patrick Bell here at the Consulting Kingdom. I'm here with my guest today, Catherine the Grateful of Profit 100K. Catherine, welcome today.
Shalom, shalom. Thank you for having me here today, Patrick. It's a delight to be with you.
Yeah, it's such an honor and a privilege to be chatting with you. Hey, tell us right away, just tell us a little bit about you, your business, your consulting, your coaching, what you do, and let's start it off that way.
Yeah, well, so Patrick and I were actually talking because he's in California and I was actually raised in California after being born in New York and moving across to the other coast. I grew up actually in the San Fernando Valley of California. And my journey into consulting actually came out of need. My background is in human resources. I had lost a job at the time, and people started saying, "Hey, can you write a policy for me? Can you write a procedure for me? Can you write a handbook for me?" So in the beginning, I started doing HR consulting. Then I went back into the corporate world and found myself in a place where I wanted to do more for people. And so I went and got my coaching certification. And then I began on the journey of coaching young professionals and emerging leaders because I figured out, this quote unquote adulting thing they call it is a challenge, and they're going to actually be our future. So then I started coaching young professionals and emerging leaders and just really helping them to get adjusted to the work environment. And I landed on them because I noticed that workforces always focus on high potentials and they focus on senior leaders, but that's a little mismarket that is overlooked and definitely needed. And the more that I figure I can sow into them is the better they'll be for the future, because when they are leading is when I will be stepping back and really needing them to lead well in my older years. And so from there, I was introduced to the concept of potentially working with business owners. And so now I'm doing both. And it's a wonderful pairing because business owners employ young professionals. And so if I can help businesses be more profitable, they can employ more people. And especially since we know that business owners are the backbone of America, right? Especially small business owners.
Yep.
It will be if I can help them in any way survive, get past the 3-year, the 5-year mark, and get to the $1 million mark, then that means they can employ more people, especially young professionals and emerging leaders. And they can also really lead them in a way that they can develop and grow in their environment and not be wanting to run out and exit because it's not well with them. So
that's amazing. Hey, do you have a special, like a specific aspect of business? Because business is this vast field, infinite in so many possibilities. What's like your number one specialty? You might call it a superpower, but maybe it's a specialty in a certain area. Is it HR?
My superpower is HR. It really, really is. I had a client from 3 years ago actually called me at the beginning of this month. And he said, "Hey, Catherine, how are you doing?" I said, "Oh, hey, how are you doing?" And then he just proceeded to have this long conversation. It's almost like I felt a little vomited on, like, how you hold a baby and then all of a sudden they were like, whoop. And so, but I was like, okay, everything's going to be okay. And so he said at the end to me, "Can you help me?" I said, "Of course I can support you in this process." Right. And it was very easy for me to just put my HR hat back on and help him navigate through that. So yeah, HR would be my superpower. That's the area that I spent my entire career before doing coaching. And I consulted as an HR person, as well as being internal to organizations.
Okay. So what do you wish you had known before you went down this journey of consulting? Like maybe that's a loaded question, isn't it?
Yeah. So, someone said the other day, work is hard and entrepreneurship is hard. So choose your hard. I actually didn't
Wow.
choose my hard to begin with, right? I found myself in a circumstance where, I'm at a job, I was on unemployment. I was like, I don't really like this. And so
Yeah.
people just started to ask me, hey, I know you're not working. Can you do this? Can you do that? And I just said yes. And I said yes to everything because number one, it kept my skills up and it kept my skills sharp. So I fell into the consulting rather than choosing it. And
Okay.
so that's one thing. And so as I progressed, even when I did training and development, I went and applied. I thought I was applying for a training and development job, and they were like, actually, it's a training and development consultant. I thought, okay, here we
Okay.
go again. So one thing I would say to people that I wish I knew, even the first time around, had I recognized that in that choosing, it was leading me down this path that I would eventually be doing, I probably would have asked a lot more questions, set myself up in a different way in the very beginning, and would have probably talked to more consultants, maybe visited an SBDC, just to really understand like the lay of the land for consulting and how not to have it be so feast or famine.
Right. We give in the past we've given advice to our kids. It's like, hey, they're like, what university degree shall I pursue? And my
Mm.
wife is very good at this and saying, well, why don't you just go and if you want to be a physical therapist, go and take a physical therapist out for lunch and or go and shadow them for a little bit and find out what it's like before you go and invest 4 years or 6 years of college and then a career into it. You might not even like it. And our daughter at the time actually did that, and she's like, "Oh, I don't want to do that." But I think of ourselves then as people as like, "I want to be a business coach or I want to be a business consultant," without interviewing people who are doing it and realizing, "Oh my gosh, it can be difficult."
Hmm.
And there's a lot of challenges along the way to actually build a successful consulting practice.
On that point, I'll share with you,
Yeah,
this morning I was at a networking group, and I love my life. It's not by accident. I did a Henry Blackaby study a long time ago. It was called Experiencing God. And one of the things in that study is you could ask God to join you where he was at work. So I went to networking every, I go every other Friday or whenever I'm available. And I went there with the intent to network, and I walked in the door and I saw my networking group and I looked at everyone and smiled. And then I turned back and I saw someone. I thought, I know you. And then when he
yeah,
stood up, I'm like, I know you. And so I went over there and we got into this beautiful conversation. Mind you, my networking group is going on. And then his wife came over and we had this amazing conversation. He too is a business owner. So I said, you can join in. Anybody can join in. But the beauty was the conversation that I had with his wife because she wants to be in midwifery. So she's not sure if she wants to do nurse midwifery or just
wow,
midwifery. So we had this beautiful conversation and we talked about informational interviewing. And I encouraged her because she had applied to nursing school, but the problem is she hasn't been successful with passing the test. And so I said, well, have you prayed about it? And what has been the hindrance? And she said, well, God had asked her to give it over to him. And now he said, pick it back up. But what I dialed into is what you said about the college piece. I'm like, well, if it's midwifery, do you need to go to nursing school to do that? Or can you just do that? Right? Because midwives
yeah,
in the past apprenticed, right? And don't hear me, audience. I'm not saying college is good or bad or right or
right,
wrong,
right, right.
but you have to discern, just like working in a corporation or being a consultant, is it right for you? And
Yep,
so we
that's
had a
right.
wonderful conversation to say, hey, do informational interviews with nurse midwiferys and just midwives, and then ask them, because there may be something going on in this space right now which will help you to know what's the right path to take. And that's the same thing with consulting. What you may be thinking about consulting in may be a dying industry, and you need to be thinking about an industry that's on the uptake instead.
Yeah, that's good. And so when you take this consultant out, if people are looking to get into consulting, you take a consultant, a business coach out to lunch, buy them a lunch. It's going to cost you whatever, $50. It might be the best $50 you spend, and if you do it 3 or 4 times, you're going to get a really good idea of this whole industry you're thinking about joining, and it could save you years of grief if you're not the right person for it. But anyways, I think
And a
sometimes
really
we all
powerful question is at the end, always ask two things. What
okay.
didn't I ask that I should have? And who else
Hmm,
should I be talking to?
nice. Yeah, that'll open up a lot.
It does.
Tell me, talk about like what resources or support systems have been most beneficial to you as a consultant.
So for me, there's a couple things that have been really good. Mentorship has been really good. There are some key people in my life that I can go to when things don't seem to be going right, or when they're going right, and I can ask them for some sound biblical advice. I can ask them to pray for me first, and then I can, and there are people who I can be very transparent with them. And when I say transparent, if you want someone to really help you, you have to tell them the numbers. So
Yeah.
that's number one. One key thing I learned is I have to keep numbers, right? Because the numbers don't lie. A lot of things
Yep.
may be in your head, but you need to know the numbers, right? So that's really important. So getting good guidance, mentorship, leveraging the resources at the SBDC or the SBA or SCORE. I've used the SBDC in the past, when it comes to creating a business plan. And I want you to know a business plan doesn't have to be multiple pages. It doesn't have to be something that's difficult, but you want to have your vision, your mission, and your values laid down. You need to know your why, right? That's another really important thing is why am I doing this? So when it gets hard, knowing that. So, there are a lot of wonderful books. I have a friend that wrote a book about what's my why. And so it really helps
Wow.
you to solidify why, the whys in your life, because sometimes we're doing things for reasons that um, we realize, like, why am I doing this? And you don't know why. And so then it's easy to let go of something when you
Yep.
don't have a real clear path on it. I journal. That's very important for me. I keep a really tight schedule. That's really important too, because I can go back in my schedule and I can see when did I waste time and when was I really productive. So those are the things that I use. So um, get yourself a good bookkeeper if you don't do
Okay.
bookkeeping yourself, and remember, in the beginning you may have to do all these things yourself, right? So
Yeah.
you are doing your bookkeeping, and what's beautiful is there's a book on everything. So read a book, listen to a video on something that you don't know, but also my best friend is asking questions, not being afraid to ask other business owners that I encounter questions about things that I might be having, because there are other business owners are a really good resource. And I've also talked, like, I know who my so-called competitor is. I don't see him as my competitor, and we talk, right? And
Yeah.
we show up at the same places. He's a business coach. I call myself a business strategist. And even in one meeting the other day, I said, you can choose him or you can choose me, right? It's
Yep.
chocolate, vanilla. Which one do you like best?
Interesting. That's interesting. Like a little bit of a strategy there as we're presenting something. I'm just thinking about this for our webinar we're about to present. Is like, okay, here are the problems in the market. Here's what a great solution looks like, and here's how we meet that criteria. Instead of just saying, here's what we do,
Mm-hmm.
here's what the challenges are out there. Then we
Right.
teach people how to look for a great solution. And like you're saying, for your friend who might be a competitor, um, maybe they're the right solution for some people,
Yeah.
depending on what they're looking for. So it just depends on, again, what they're looking for. So how do you ensure you continue to grow and learn in your role, like every year, every month? How do you keep up?
Yeah, so I am certified in a couple different things. So because of my HR background, I'm a PHR and a SHRM CP, so I do continuing education with that all the time. I'm also ICF certified in coaching, so I do continuing education in that as well. They require me to do so. In terms of business, I read a lot of books. I'm actually going to do a challenge that is going to require me to read 10 pages every single day. So if you think
Okay.
about that, after 75 days, that's 750 pages.
Yep.
I also am plugged into notifications from the chamber, from the SBDC and our local community colleges so that I can look to see what business courses are available. Like I just did a cybersecurity course because
Oh,
I thought
wow.
that would be beneficial for me. It was one day, 4 hours, right? So
Yeah,
when I
really.
say course, don't think it's like months at a time. You can do
Yeah.
that, but there are some that are 2 hours or 4 hours. And I did it for myself and I also did it for my clients because now I have a better understanding of cybersecurity. I know who you need to reach out to and what time frame.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Consulting Kingdom. You've discovered valuable insights and strategies to enhance your consulting practice and to make a meaningful kingdom impact in your corner of the world. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite platform. Your feedback helps us to reach more consultants like you. To experience the Kingdom Growth Engine software firsthand and to stay connected, follow us on social media and visit our website at kingdomgrowthengine.com. Until next time, continue practicing your consulting skills, offer your assistance generously, bring value wherever you go, and serve with the heart of a king. Cheers!